Addiction prevention. One of the best ways to fight addiction in our society as a whole is to prevent it from happening in the first place. If you watch Gabor video on addiction, then you realize that addiction is born from a combination of biological, physiological, environmental, and social elements. None of these alone birth the addict, but the right combination of all of these can create an addict so out of control that they never get out. Let's look at what we can do as parents or adults in social pre-intervention to stop addiction from getting hold of the next generation of kids. A lot of this may seem like common sense, but by shining a light on what is good will help you think twice about actions that may increase the likelihood of addiction later on in a human's life. The stages of development. Prenatal. While the mother is pregnant, it is crucial to abstain from the use of any drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, or substances that are not approved by a medical doctor for obvious reasons. The baby consumes what the mother consumes, so at this point of development, consumption should be strictly limited to nourishing food high in proteins, vitamins, and minerals, and even fat if it is not derived from too much sugar. In addition to the food, it is very important to keep the mother in a loving, soothing environment. If the mother is in an abusive relationship or the body is stressed consistently during pregnancy, it will increase the chances of an addictive gene being developed in the child. It is important to understand that all babies can be born with addictive genes, but what happens throughout the lifespan of the child is what can activate, shape, and make the addiction gene stronger. In the prenatal period, a happy mom is a healthy mom. Listen to soothing music, talk to the baby, or have your partner talk or sing to the baby. This will create a soothing, non-stress environment for the developing fetus. As a society, if you know anyone that is pregnant, it is our moral obligation to report abuse that is occurring to the pregnant woman, regardless of who the abuser is. In the mid-20th century, it was not uncommon for marital abuse from the men to the woman to be swept under the carpet and left as that family's business. Unfortunately, today, this still goes on. What if you knew that by helping someone with a child remove themselves from an abusive environment early on, that the child and all subsequent offspring will have a much better chance of thriving and being positive contributing members of our society? It is time that we, as a society, do not turn a blind eye to abuse anymore. When we see it, we need to confront it, but in a way that is safe for the abused. You do not want to confront the abuser, ever. This may make things worse behind closed doors and probably will. If you are 100% certain that physical abuse is occurring, then report it to the appropriate authorities. Save this child now before it is even born. Every minute counts. From 0 to 2 years old. From an animal kingdom perspective, human babies are all born premature. If you look at other species, they are all born with an immediate ability to walk, swim, and are much more motor skilled than their human counterparts. This simply means that most of our development comes after birth. If this is the case, the first 2 years are crucial in developing normal motor skills that will shape the infant's life and ability to process and handle incoming environmental suggestions. It is therefore imperative that the child is showered with love. Love is the fertilizer for healthy growth. If you scold a baby less than 2 years old for crying or anything, then you indeed are practicing abuse on the child, possibly even unbeknownst to you. During the first 2 years of development, there are brain connections being formed, and these connections are heavily influenced by the state of the mother's mental condition and connection with the baby. If the baby senses stress in the mother, it actually can change the physiological development and make some receptors hypersensitive to stress that later on in life can make the person more prone to addiction. Science is just starting to unveil the importance of this in the first 2 years. So if you have a baby, it is equally important to have an environment that is very healthy for the mother as it is for the baby. If there is a lot of screaming, yelling, and stress during these periods, the baby will develop differently than another home with identical surroundings that is calm and serene. Socially, if we place more importance on this and you are visiting your friends with their baby and you see things going on that look stressful for the mother or child, show the mother some kindness and soothe her stress and anxiety. You will be doing the mother and the baby huge injustice if you don't. We, as a society, have to step up and accept our roles in not only the development of our own children, but in respectfully and lovingly helping others too. Help a woman and a child at a grocery store struggling with groceries by offering to help them load them in her car or opening a door for them. A pregnant woman in our society has to be put at the top of all of our priority lists to ensure a better future world for our own children and society. Every cruel or stressful act done around infants diminishes the world a little by little. Every kind and loving act builds the world up. It is time we look at how we treat others in a whole and not just pregnant women. From 2 to 5 years old. A child will start walking prior to this point or even during this point, and when this happens, a new phase in development occurs. Being free to roam the world opens up brain activity immensely. Their growth starts to really speed up and language comprehension begins, which is developed long before they are able to speak. That is why they understand what you are saying but cannot respond back verbally. However, they do develop the ability to say yes or no, and teaching the proper use of these words is crucial in the healthy development of your child. This is where emotional regulation occurs. Without proper emotional regulation, things can start to occur like self-entitlement. It is very easy for the child to say no, but it is very important for the child to accept no as an answer from adults. Coaching with love and never out of anger is the key to developing a healthy child that is ready to interact with their peers. Spankings are no longer a thoughtful option for parenting children. Even if you were as a child and you turned out okay, it does not mean your child will. More and more studies show that parenting through intimidation, spankings, or yelling will have adverse effects on their child later on. It is better to be patient, loving, and cleverly maneuvering the child to the positive behaviors you want than to force through physical means. Teaching delayed gratification during this period is a huge thing you can do. Teach your toddler to get rewarded for good behavior and that all good things that happen to them come from good actions on their part. This is huge. Take a parenting course from your local community services. Almost every city in North America has these resources available for people that want to be the best parents that they can possibly be. Doing this can make the difference between having your child become a 21-year-old homeless heroin addict on the street or a 21-year-old college student working towards a successful career. Love, nurturing, and positive encouragement will breed a winner. From 6 to 12 years old, your child is off to school. If you have done your job right, the environmental influences will have less pull on them. They will meet other kids less fortunate than your kids. So it is important that you communicate daily with your children about how their day went in school. Be hyper vigilant with this without being overprotective. By talking daily, you can nip things in the bud, so to speak. Most addicts are born from lack of love and nurturing in the formative years, then combined with external environmental situations to start shaping the addict. Learn who your kids' friends are before you find out the hard way. Have them come over to your house more than at others if your schedule permits. Seeing what your kid is doing with other kids is very useful information in learning how your child interacts. Is he or she a bully? Are they supportive and do they share? These all seem like common sense things, but in today's society, the parents often become too busy with their own work lives, they would rather buy a Sony PlayStation and make that their free babysitter. Let's face it, it's easier and cheaper than a babysitter. However, it could be contributing to addictive behavior out of convenience to your own schedule. Make the time. Find the time. Reprioritize. There is nothing more important in your life than the healthy development of your child. If it isn't, then it should be. This age is very crucial to watch for signs, as the addict can be born in this age bracket, from 13 to 18 years old. There is no doubt that for a lot of families, the teen years present the biggest challenge for both the parents and children. The child goes through some serious body changes with puberty, which brings about mental state changes, and belief systems are developed, good and bad. It is often in the early teens that thoughts like, "I'm not good at anything," "I am not as good looking as," "I wish I could play basketball as good as," indicating that a measuring stick is starting to be put in place. It is important at this stage to try and encourage your teens to not compare themselves to anyone but their own standards. Find out what they want. Find a way to help them achieve it. Encourage them that they can do anything they set their minds to. During this phase, ego will get in the way of healthy development. It is important for you to intercept and change thought patterns that are self-defeating. This breeds looking outside of oneself for gratification. High school is usually a bit better for most teens because they have moved past the puberty awkward period. It is a time to really begin defining oneself and realistically contemplating the future. Skill development is accelerated to prepare for college or job training programs. Talents are perfected. Social skills are honed and relationships take on more of a serious nature. Peer pressure is at its max, and in today's teen society, there are more tempting sidetracks than ever. Drugs have already and will continue to be around and accessible. Constant discussions with your child from as early as 6 years old and up through the teen years, combined with a school education about drugs, should be enough, especially if you've done all these other things in this video throughout the other stages of development. However, environmental influences are still a part of addiction, and you must be ever vigilant in this part of their lives. Do not freak out if they try smoking a joint or they make a mistake or two. Half of grade 12 students will have experimented with drugs at least once in high school. Talk to them about it. Don't talk at them, talk with them. You don't know everything that happens in your child's life because they have established independence to some degree by this point. By doing more listening than talking at this point, you will get less resistance to what you have to say when you need to say it. Liken it to asking your child to put their hand up in a high five gesture. Now push your hand against their hand. What happens? They automatically push back. It is a reflex we, as humans, are all built with. When we lecture our older teens, we are indeed accomplishing this very thing. We are creating resistance to our thoughts and opinions automatically, which makes our message weaker and weaker. A herd teenager is a teenager that will listen better. Summary: addiction is born from many things and not one single thing. Here is a common pathway to addiction: early trauma in the infant's life, stressed parents arguing and fighting, physical or emotional abuse while the kid witnesses it, which then creates faulty brain wiring in early development, lack of love or abuse during the formative years, missing social connection with the parents, which creates a missing something feeling, single parents overwhelmed with finances or other adult matters, sexual or physical abuse to the child at any time during the child's development. It is no coincidence that nearly 100% of all homeless street addicts have suffered some sort of trauma in their lives. This does not mean that if you are traumatized early on in life, or even later on, that you will become an addict. It merely increases the chances of an addictive behavior developing when combined with other biological, social, and environmental influences. One thing is for sure though, It is a common thread. So eliminate trauma to the child from 0 to 18 years of age. Can it still happen? Of course it can. It is much better to hedge your bets by following all the advice in this video. Please share this on your social media pages to bring awareness to parents everywhere by clicking on one of the share buttons below.